Hello there, and welcome back to the Creative Collaboration Show. My name is Chuck Anderson, and you have arrived at a very special time. Today is our 100th episode of the Creative Collaboration Show. And over the last 100 episodes, I have had the privilege of interviewing some amazing guests who've had so many great tips and strategies to share that can help you on whatever business track you're on, whether you're just starting out in business or if you're growing your business or scaling your business or trying to overcome certain challenges in your business. We have had so many guests, great guests on this show. And so what we did is we went back and we had a look at these episodes and picked out a few of our favorites. That were either the most popular with our audience or with our community. And we've put together a top 10. So I'm going to be doing a top 10 countdown of our best interviews over the last 100 episodes. Now, the first one I want to introduce you with in the number 10 spot is Dr. Barnsley Brown. And here, her and I are talking about becoming resilient in your business. Check it out.
That question. Actually, I decided I had three amazing people that I really revered. Every single one of them was just a dynamo. And two of them were my neighbors, Chuck. So they stayed on my butt. They wouldn't let me off the hook. And they enrolled me in transformational leadership trainings that were held here, actually local, though people came from all over the world. They were held right here in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Can you imagine? So I didn't need to travel. There was no excuse. And I was recently separated and I needed a change in my life. I was a single mom. I needed a change in my life. I needed support. I knew I needed support and I did not want to stay in the rain sobbing about what had happened. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Soggy and sobbing. That's no fun. Joy is where it's at, you all. So I enrolled in transformational leadership. I remember putting that $5,000, it was just under $5,000, Chuck. I put that thing on my credit card. I just said, okay, I'm putting it on my credit card. I don't know how this is going to happen. And do you know, within 3 weeks, that credit card was paid off with all the extra business that had come my way.
Amazing.
Yeah. Magical. But see, the breakthrough for people is that you haven't gotten where you wanted to go doing what you're doing now. All right. And I didn't. And it is absolutely imperative that you invest in yourself, your personal growth, as we were talking about right before this, Chuck. You got to invest in yourself, because to the extent that you grow yourself, you will be able to grow your business. Otherwise, anything that happens, you'll be knocked off your center. So you really have to have an incredible center and incredible perseverance, stick-to-itness, dogged, be like a chihuahua that grabs onto your heel and won't let go. That's what you got to be in business.
Yeah.
You know?
Relentless, really.
Relentless. That's the best word right there. Relentless.
Next up in the number 9 spot, I have a good friend of mine, Jim Padilla, talking about selling on founder magic and the importance of having a sales playbook so you can duplicate yourself in your business.
Is when you're in a place where you're trying to make a decision every day, you have to have an actual conscious decision. Do I make sales today or do I serve my clients today? Right? You're starting to become the bottleneck and the fork in the road at the same time. And so people, you're trying to go, okay, I need to make more sales, but then now you're behind on trying to fulfill everybody, or you're so busy fulfilling that you can't make any more sales because they're all dependent upon you. And that's a challenge. Raise your hand if you've been there, right? We all know that that's a challenging thing. We call this selling on founder magic. And when you're selling on founder magic, here's the problem. It's fantastic because people get to access you and know you. The problem is it's not sustainable. It's not replicatable. It's not It's not something that ultimately is profitable, because usually you're undervaluing your own time and what can be put on somebody else. And it's easier for me to do it than it is for me to train somebody to do it, or it's easier for me to do it than it is to run someone. And the biggest part of the problem, that the reason why it's so hard for you to get somebody else do it, is because you haven't largely documented your entire process. You don't have a sales playbook, right? You don't have a way to capture all of the things that are in your head or in your history to be able to put in front of a salesperson who can then replicate what you're doing. Tony Roma's used to be a big favorite restaurant of mine, and I used to love this chicken and ribs combo that they had, and with shrimp. It was ribs and shrimp combo with rice. It was all my favorite things, and they took it off the menu for some reason. I guess I was the only person buying it, but they took it off the menu. And then Cindy and I were out of town, and we found a Tony Roma's, and we went in and I said, "Hey, look, is there any way that you could put this plate together for me? I know it's not on the menu anymore." And the server was like, "Oh yeah, man, I don't know why they took it off the menu. I used to sell a lot of those. I know we got the ingredients in the back. Let me get the cook to make it for you." She knew all the off menu items. So she knew what was what, and she knew that they can make it happen. And so I got my plate. But if she had been a brand new server and didn't know anything about that, she could have very easily just said, "Well, we don't have it on the menu anymore, and so you can't have it." Or, "I don't want to go out of my way to, the chef's kind of grumpy today," but who knows? There could have been a whole lot of variables around why this wouldn't work. And when you are the founder, you know all the off menu items. You know where everything is. You know what things you've sold in the past. You know what is in the kitchen because you did the order, and you know what's all there. So you know what? We could probably make that because I just did an order of those the other day, right? When you're bringing a salesperson on, and if you don't have a process and a way to capture all of that, they have no way of knowing any of those things. And so you have to expect that they're going to deliver less than you because they don't have all of that history that is in there. But you can deliver this stuff in a process and what's something we call a sales playbook. And that gives your salespeople the ability, everything that they need to deliver a sale.
All right. Now, continuing on, in the number 8 spot is Dr. Susie Carter, and she has some great insights on your business and whether you actually have a job or a real business that can scale into something significant.
And I was at a seminar, and he said, "How many of you are off work right now?" And we raise our hand. "How many of you are nervous that you're off work right now?" We raise our hand. He said, "How many of you are going to have to work twice as hard tomorrow when you get back in because you took the day off?" And we raise our hand. He said, "How many of you are afraid to go on vacation, right? Because you don't know, will the business do what the business needs to do if you're gone?" We all raise our hand. He said, "Congratulations, you own a job, not a business." And that was the biggest epiphany for me, to go, how do I, back in the day, it was a salon and spa. How do I have this business not rely on me 7/24? My ego was invested, and a lot of entrepreneurs, our ego is, it can't run without me. Like, oh, it can't run without me. I'm so special. And the reality is you want to build it so that it can run without you. And so that was a huge pivot for me. To go, I want to be able to go on vacation. And how vacation works for most of us, and even me back then, is you would work really hard right before you go on vacation, sleep most of the time because you're so exhausted from working so hard because you're going on vacation, come back from vacation, and then work around the clock to make up for what you didn't do while you were on vacation. And so it's not really a vacation. I just got back from a month off on vacation, of just enjoying my home, enjoying my family, enjoying projects, and not having to worry about my business because my team is managing my business. The business still ran. We still had money come in. We still have receivables come in. So anything's possible when you have a plan and a strategy. And systems, if you look at our life, everywhere you look at systems, how we drive, there's a system. If you ever go to Europe, there's a different system that's hard. If you're an American and then you're going in Europe, right? So how you cook, there's a system. How you get up in the morning, and do you shower first? Do you brush your teeth first? Do you get coffee first? Do you take meditation time first? Do you work out first? What's your system that you do every morning? And so when you look at it, systems allow us to get twice as much done in half the amount of time. And most entrepreneurs were winging it, right? We're firefighting, and you're firefighting because you don't have a structure in place to go, there's a breakdown, what happens? There's a breakdown, what's happened. Now, please hear that I don't have a perfect business. We have breakdowns in our business because the bigger you play, the bigger the breakdown. And so there's always breakdowns inside of our business. The difference is we're aware of our dysfunction. We know how to handle a breakdown, and there's not make wrong inside of a breakdown. If we're not having breakdown in our business, Chuck, we're not playing big enough.
Next up at number 7, I have Majid Magaraban talking about how you can really sell anything through public speaking. Check this out.
A health coach comes to me and says, Majid, I have the speaking engagement coming up. I have no idea what I'm supposed to say. There's going to be a lot of my ideal clients there, and I'm super nervous. Can you help me? And I said, don't worry. I know exactly what to do. We built a powerful 10-minute speech with stories and jokes, and it was entertaining. And this health coach went on stage, delivered their talk, nailed it, had them laughing, had them crying, standing ovation, but more importantly, got the audience to take action and sign up for her $5,000 coaching program. She got 10 new clients from one speech. She made $50,000 in 10 minutes. She said to me, man, Majid, I never thought it was possible to make $50,000 in a month, let alone in 10 minutes. And it's all thanks to the work we did for that speech. So that's the success story framework. And so we're starting to put these success stories into the speech. Now, there's another story called the cautionary tale. And the cautionary tale is just like the success story framework. Ideal client comes to you, describes the problem. But in this case, they don't work with you for whatever reason. Or maybe you never met them, but you're still describing the person with that problem. So that way the audience hears themselves in the story and they go, oh, this is just like my problem. What happens next? It's a cautionary tale because bad things happen next. Let's take the same example. Health coach has a speech coming up. She's got 10 minutes. She's got an audience full of ideal clients, but she spends the whole 10 minutes talking about her own health journey, and it didn't really resonate with the audience. She makes a pitch, nobody buys, and she feels really embarrassed, and she feels like she totally bombed the speech. That's a cautionary tale, right? And that speech just cost her $50,000 because she didn't have the right speech, even though she had great intentions. So we have cautionary tales and we have success stories, and we can juxtapose the two throughout a speech and then imply to the audience, so which one do you want to be? Do you want to be like the success story, or do you want to be like the cautionary tale?
Next up at number 6 is my good friend Gary Rogers, who knows more about looking good on camera than anyone else on the internet. And here he's going to be talking about how you can look good on camera and make money using nothing but a webcam.
Well, everybody's got a PhD at watching television. You know instantly if somebody's doing the right thing or the wrong thing. When the pandemic started, news anchors would talk to people. They couldn't send out camera crews. They had to talk to people on their computers. And Nora O'Donnell or Lester Holtz, the news anchor, would talk to them, and they were talking to their audience, looking into their cameras, but the people that they were interviewing on their laptops were looking down at the laptop. And right now, anybody that's viewing this, I've lost connection with everybody. I'm not looking at them. I've got to look into that camera if they want to feel like I'm talking to them. And people just have to learn. It's a simple mistake that 99% of everybody I talk to makes every single day of my life. If you're on a laptop, which most people use, your tendency is to want to look at the person you're talking to. And in order to do that, you got to look down. And as soon as you do that, you've lost connection with the people you're talking to. When I started my coaching online, I knew from my production experience that I had to look straight into the camera if I wanted people to feel connected with me. It drove me crazy. I spent the first 3 years looking straight into that camera, and I couldn't see the people that I was talking to. And I want to see the people. You were just going like that. And I want to see that. Now I've got a big smile. I can see everything that you're doing. I learned a trick a lot of years ago, and now I teach all of my students how they can actually see the people that they're talking to, not down on the computer screen, but actually see them as they're talking to them and have the people they're talking to feel like they're talking directly to them. It revolutionized my business when I found out how to do that. And now I teach it to literally everybody, and everybody that does it, it changes their business for the rest of their lives if they're using a webcam.
Okay, I'm halfway through my countdown now. Hopefully you've enjoyed the clip so far. And now we're going to get to our final 5. Now, before I do that, I just want to remind you that not only are these very powerful guests, but these are people that we tend to collaborate with. And so one of the things that I commonly do with our podcast guests is collaborate, do some collaborative projects. Sometimes we invest in a business. Sometimes we even create a whole new business. And one of the ways that I do that is through my podcast guests. So take a look at these guests, the ones you just heard from and the ones you are just about to hear from. They are great people to collaborate. But also, if you feel like you have something to offer our audience, our community, or even would like to collaborate with me, then please reach out and let's get you booked in as a guest on this show. And let's figure out what we can do together. I would like to help you grow your business, and together everybody wins. Okay, enough of that. Back to the show. Here at number 5 is my good friend Iman Agai, talking about the power of learning any skill and applying that to get some great business results. You're going to love his story.
Oh, I always say, like, usually when people want to introduce me on the stage, they say, Iman, how do we introduce you? And I said, just say Iman Agai is a nice guy. That's all enough. No, but the reality is that I'm a serial entrepreneur and I'm a very curious person around like learning new things. And so that's why, like, when you're looking at that, you're like, oh, you're an author, you're a speaker, you're this, you're that. It's just because I'm curious to learn like all different things. So I remember that many years ago, I wanted to become a best-selling author. And as clearly it's obvious that English is not my first language. And so I was like, well, how can I write a book, right? I was in a place that like, I can't write a book, I can't do this, I can't do that, right? And I'm like, well, then how can you, right? So then I started kind of putting together my first book, and it was for example, the first one that I did actually was a mixture of like short stories of everybody, and I just wrote one chapter, right? But then that taught me how to publish a book and how to, you know, make it a best-selling book. And so like the first book that I ever published, it was a consolidation of like 10 stories of other people, including one story of mine, but taught me a lot about like book writing and publishing. And then after that, I wrote and published my own book, which became like the most sold book on Amazon on online course creation. But I always wanted to become a public speaker. And I was like, well, you know, how can I actually do this? So I ended up getting like a lot of classes on, you know, being able to understood in English with my accent. And, you know, I took 2 years of classes on how to be funny. Like literally paid a guy for 2 years to go through humorous classes and other things to just be able to make people laugh in English, because every time I speak in Farsi, everybody laughs. And then the moment that I would start speaking in English, then nobody would laugh. And I'm like, damn it, like I can't read, right? So like spent like 2 years like learning how to be, how to bring humor to my English. And you know, and everything else, like you were talking about the mergers and acquisitions. And I was thinking, well, you know what, about 4 years ago, I knew nothing about mergers and acquisitions. I knew nothing about investing in companies. And then I was like, you know what, I really should learn about this, because I like this is something that like is like I should really know, right? Mm-hmm. So then I started like looking at where I can learn it, and found an investment club where where it kind of like was an investment pool that everybody was like investing a little bit of money into it, but then all of us were investing in different companies. And just a few years later, 160 investments and 10 exits later. And just I think the biggest thing is that I'm a curious person and I love entrepreneurship, and I love supporting and helping people with building businesses that that's along with their life purpose. I always look at entrepreneurship for myself as a playground to feed my curiosity and the thirst for learning.
Next up in the number 4 spot is Michael Tucker. And I was blown away by Michael's story of how he took a brand new event and a brand new idea, collaborated and partnered with somebody, and now has scaled that to beyond $40 million in sales. Check this story out, because this is something that anyone can learn how to do.
I was kind of learning the digital marketing as I was going, right? A lot of you entrepreneurs and business owners here listening today, you probably jumped into something and was learning as you were going. And that was me. So I was watching YouTube videos, attending conferences, watching webinars. And the common theme that kept coming up, Chuck, was virtual events and webinars. Like everybody, and this was like, 4 or 5 years ago. So everybody was using webinars, and these were big things. Russell Brunson was talking about using webinars. And so we set out to do our first virtual event. I remember it took weeks to build this out. I got all the emails, the funnels, the text messages ready, the products ready, everything. It took me weeks. We did our first webinar to our own organic audience, and it flopped. I remember sitting there at my kitchen table hitting refresh on ClickFunnels. If you're a digital marketer, you'll know what that is. And I was hitting refresh and no sales were coming in. But eventually what actually led us to our biggest epiphany and our biggest breakthrough was using collaborations and partnerships with our virtual events. And so, we ended up resetting, we got some coaching, some mentorship, and we ended up making $750,000 over the course of 10 months from that loss. I shouldn't say loss, from that failure we had at the very beginning. 10 months later, we ended up generating over $750,000, all through partnerships and virtual events. So that's why I love this, Chuck, is because I've experienced it. That's my favorite collaboration story right there, is when I can, this was like my first client. I didn't even have an agency, right? We were bartering services. And so it was really cool to see how he went from having no audience, no list, to thousands of people on his list, utilizing other people's audience and making hundreds of thousands of dollars. It was total night and day from day one to the 10 months later. So I get pumped up, man. It's crazy.
Mental resilience plays such a huge part in our journey as entrepreneurs, as business owners, and even if you're a salesperson. As business owners, we have to sell all the time. And of course, there's techniques, and then there's the things that we believe. And this next guest, Jerry Teplitz, is a master at helping you to work out things in your brain so you can get a much better result. In fact, if you go back and check out the full episode, you'll see me doing a live exercise with Jerry that right after that episode created a huge spike in my business results. Check this out.
Well, I realized very quickly that if I went into a VP of sales and I said to them, "Hi, I'd like to come in and do this seminar. It's called Switched On Selling, and we're not going to teach a single technique of selling the entire day. It is a brain re-education program using very simple body movement exercises called brain gyms." After he threw me out the door, or she would throw me out the door, I realized I needed to get proof that this worked. And so what I did is a research study with 695 salespeople. We gave them a pre-seminar questionnaire when they walked in first thing in the morning. End of the day, we gave it to them again. But then I collected the forms back from them. I got them back to them a month later because I wanted to get over seminar high, a placebo effect. Because you know how you go to seminar, you get really excited, and 3 days later you're back doing what you did before. So it didn't stick. So I wanted to see if this really worked because I was not going to continue doing it if it was just kind of a placebo effect on folks. I wanted something that was going to be changing them. So with the study, let me give you an example of one of the statements we asked when they walked in first thing in the morning, filling out the form. I am comfortable asking for the order and closing the sale. Pretty important part of the process, Chuck. Agreed?
Very important. You have to ask.
So how many people would you say responded negatively to that?
Well, I'll just base it on the work that I've done. Most people are very uncomfortable. They might force themselves to do it, but most people are uncomfortable asking for the order.
52% responded negatively to that statement.
Okay, well, over half.
End of the seminar day. Again, remember, we're not teaching techniques of selling. It's this brain re-education using movement. Only 8% were still negative. Now, you would normally expect the numbers to start going up again. Instead, at the month later, and we didn't get all the forms back, we compared the ones we got back with the ones that we didn't, and they were comparable. So it wasn't that we had this unique group of folks who responded versus those who did not. And this is the interesting part. Only 6% were still on the negative side. From 52 down to 51 down to 6%.
Moving on now to number 2, I had the privilege of interviewing one of the OGs of internet marketing. Rich Sheffrin was responsible not only for inspiring millions of people to get online with their businesses, but was the business coach to some of the biggest minds and biggest gurus that you see in the internet marketing space. And many of the people that you are learning from today were coached and trained by Rich. And so lean in and listen to what he has to say. It's pretty cool.
And so that's when I decided I would start coaching on my own. And as I kind of decided to coach, I became really the first business coach online because everyone else was kind of teaching marketing, and kind of acquired quite a slew of people that are now extremely well known that were in my early coaching programs. People like Russell Brunson and Todd Brown and Mike Filsaime and Ryan Levesque, and pretty much most of the big names online today. Ryan Dice, et cetera, were in those original coaching programs. And for about 2 years, I was kind of a behind the scenes coach to a lot of people that became big names, but most people didn't know who I was. I also started working with a company called Agora Publishing around that time. And I had this big project that I was doing with Agora in about 3 months, and I had just finished my coaching program. So I had like nothing to do for 3 months. And I didn't like the idea of there being nothing to do. So I ended up writing a report with the hope of getting like a dozen clients that I could work with for 3 months. And the report was what mistakes I saw people making and how I help people make money and build businesses. And so I put it on my blog, and it ended up going viral. And so that was called the Internet Business Manifesto. And really, there was 31 pages long, and it's been downloaded millions of times at this point. And it changed my life. Like, there was my life before that document, and there was my life after that document, and they are very different lives. And so immediately I built a company off of that. It brought back like $3.5 million within the first 4 weeks or something like that. Over $7.5 million within the first year, and well over 10 million by year 2. And I wrote a series of 6 more free reports like that one over the next 18 months. And my business grew from each one of those free reports, because each report that I wrote was tied to some program or service or coaching that I was planning on doing. And then after I did it, it would become a product or program that we just sold in perpetuity. And that was an amazing 18 months. I worked insanely hard. Really proud of those reports. Some of them predicted attention would become the scarcest commodity online. Another report talked about attention going to this new thing, social media, and what were the implications. So a lot of the things I predicted and wrote about turned out to be true.
And finally, in the number one spot, I had the privilege of interviewing James Melanchuk. And some of you might know him from the hit series, The Secret Millionaire. He's also a mentor and a guide to anyone who wants to get paid as a public speaker. But here is James and I talking about the power of networking, how to do it effectively, and the power of leveraging deep relationships in your business. You got to check this out and put this into practice.
So I say stop networking, because that's pest working, and start relationship working. You know, the way I look at folks, Chuck, is, you think about this, your family and your friends, the people who are closest to you, that you love and care about, you don't think about networking with them. You think about serving them and helping them and making their life better. Right. So wouldn't that be something if we went around and looked at every business contact, if we looked at every person we meet at the grocery store or at the club, the tennis club or whatever, as a family member and a friend, you would stop networking immediately. And you would say, man, I need to invest in this relationship. I need to spend time with this person, talk to them, help them, get to know them. We don't look at that when we're thinking of networking. So I always say, stop networking. That equals pest working. You're a pest. And people are trying to swat your way, right? And start relationship working.
That is incredible. I love the way you put all of that. And, networking really is that short-term thinking. It's like, I need something today. I need a client today. I need a business today. Whereas the relationship, that's an investment in the future. You don't know when you're going to be able to cash in on that or ever.
That was the first big collaboration thing that really impacted. However, I'm so grateful for the first person, the one that I used to work with, who he and that person had a falling out, because had that person not brought the second person to my home, that second person and I today would not be friends, right? Because you don't burn bridges. They happened to have a falling out, but I ended up meeting this person through him. So amazing how sometimes collaboration works for you when you least expect it, or you're not even trying to make it work.
I love that. Treat them like family members. You're not even trying to make it work. And again, we're not trying to get something from somebody. We're trying to give something to someone. And without that expectation of they must give us something back.
Yeah.
And I think that really talks about having the faith that you'll attract into your life what you need.
You put enough good out in the world. You help people with a servant's heart, not try to do it for ulterior motives. Would we like something to come back? Yeah, that's natural. But if it doesn't, man, you can put your head down on the pillow at night knowing that in your heart you did something good for somebody else. That's just a great way to live.
So there you have it. There is our top 10 countdown from our first 100 episodes of the Creative Collaboration Show. Again, if you'd like to be a guest on this show, please reach out to me and let's connect and figure out how to tell your story. And in the meantime, if you're looking to grow your business and to get more collaborations and more joint venture partners and more affiliates who promote you, and really to create partnerships with the kind of people that you just heard from on this show, but out of so many that we work with, I want to invite you to a free workshop that I do every single month. It's called the Get Affiliates Workshop, where you're going to learn how to get affiliates and joint venture partners and ambassadors to help you to fill your programs, to send you more clients, and to promote your events, whatever it is that you're promoting. And so you'll find the link to that just beneath this video and in the show notes of this episode. In fact, you'll find the links to all of our guests right there in the show notes. So come and join me for that workshop. That would be time well spent as well. If you'd like to be on a guest of the show, please reach out. And in the meantime, keep listening. Keep listening. We have some more great guests coming up. Our next about 20, 30 episodes are already planned, and we have some amazing people here for you. So in the meantime, remember, the only way to fail is to quit. And so keep moving forward in the pursuit of your big dream, your business idea, your world-changing idea. And you might be just one partnership or collaboration away from that big breakthrough that you are looking for. And in the meantime, we will see you on the next one. This has been the Creative Collaboration Show with Chuck Anderson. We'll see you soon, everybody. Join us for the next episode. Thank you.